Peter Wellig. I'm the product manager at Polarion Software. I'm responsible for Polarion ALM and Polarion Requirements products. A great experience with the system engineering companies, set up in traceability from the system requirements through the development tasks down to the source code changes. And feel free to contact me anytime, thierry.wellig@polarion.com, or just contact Polarion Software to schedule a private session with us. The session is recorded. You will end the webinar with Q&A session, so you can ask questions anytime. To ask a question, please use the Q&A panel so we can easily answer them during the webinar by my colleagues who has joined the session, or I will answer them by myself at the end of the presentation. So already speaking about the format, we will just introduce the products, Polarion ALM and MatLab Simulink quickly at the beginning. Then I will show some slides. I will speak about the benefits, but I will also demonstrate Polarion ALM product and also the integration with MatLab Simulink live. So you can definitely see how these two products can be linked together and what are the top benefits. And at the end, I answer the questions. So Polarion ALM. For those who do not know Polarion Software has been founded in 2004 as a private company. Since the beginning, we are a leading innovator for application lifecycle management and requirements management solutions, web-based solutions. We're pushing an idea of integrated ALM solution with all the lifecycle phases being supported by a single tool to enable the seamless collaboration of all the team members. We have more than 1 million users of our Polarion solutions. Many of them are among Fortune 1000 companies. And what's great is that we have really a great Polarion community of our users, more than 10,000 registered members. And because our solutions are very flexible, the community members are also sharing with us the extensions to our product. So we have the extensions portal where you can find many different extensions from templates to workflow extensions, integrations, and many of them are really provided by our community. We focus on many different industries: aerospace, medical, defense systems, simply many manufacturing customers, embedded software development. But of course, the pure software projects are also managed by our platform. Today, we also speak about a solution for system engineering, MatLab Simulink by MathWorks. The Simulink is a block diagramming environment for simulation and model-based design. I think that most of you know MatLab Simulink, and this is the reason why you are here, because you would like to understand better how these two solutions can be linked together. What are those reasons to link the Simulink models with Polarion requirements? Let's list them at the beginning, and then we will speak about each subject in detail. So first, I'll speak about requirements and model traceability. In general, what are the core concepts? What are the core basic reasons? Then about rich design specification documents, if you need to document your project, if you need to fulfill the regulatory requirements, and be sure that you have a formal design specification document. Then, of course, impact analysis. Agile processes are becoming more and more popular, even for system engineering, for the simple reason because, we need to react quickly for a change. Change always happens, and you need to understand the impact of a change before the change actually happens. The review and approval process, you can speak about informal reviews or very formal reviews that are important for regulated industries, medical device development. And at the end, the reason number 5, I would speak about model and code change versioning and how the changes in the model and related MATLAB source files can be linked with Polarion work items and why it is important. So let's start. Reason number 1, or topic number 1, requirements and model traceability. So first, I think that you have some participants who are familiar with Polarion traceability concept, but for those who are not really familiar that much, let me just refresh, what the traceability is. Because some competitors think about traceability as simple linking between elements, and I think that it's important to understand this term a bit better. I like the definition that traceability refers to the completeness of the information about every step in a supply chain. So the traceability is the ability to chronologically interrelate uniquely identifiable entities in a way that is verifiable. I have a great story behind this pretty complex definition, and this is that the traceability is not just a link between a requirement and test case. The traceability is the ability to prove, to verify that the requirement has been really tested for the release. And there are two primary channels how to view the traceability, and I think that first I call it historical traceability. The requirement is that you need to understand who, what, and when for any change. And this is simple. I mean, every artifact with Polarion, even all the imported diagrams from MatLab, everything is stored in our version control repository. So with Polarion ALM, all the artifacts are versioned. Every modification produces a globally unique identifiable revision, so every change is accountable. Every change is definitely linked with information about the actual human who was modifying the data, so with your username and even with a password for electronic signatures. And more important is the actual requirements traceability. The requirements traceability is concerned with documenting the relationships between requirements and other development artifacts. Purpose is to facilitate the overall quality of the products under development, the understanding of a product under development and its artifact, and definitely also the ability to manage a change. So not only the requirements themselves should be traced, but also the requirements relationship with all the other artifacts associated with it, such as models, analysis results, test cases, test procedures, test results, and the documentation of all kinds. Even people and user groups should be associated with requirements, should be traceable. What matters in requirements management is not a temporal evolution, much as a structural evolution. So of course it's important that every modification of a requirement is being traced, but the trace of where requirements are derived from, how they are satisfied, how they are tested, and what impact will result if they are changed is the key to success in current typical development process. It is very agile and when you need to manage rapid changes. As a proof, Polarion is the first ALM vendor that receives the ISO 26262 certification for the full ALM platform. And one of the requirements that we have to pass was really to provide an evidence that requirements have been approved, implemented, and verified. We were certified because Polarion is using Polarion ALM to manage our implementation process. So because, we manage all the different artifacts in the single repository, requirements, change requests, reviews. Artifacts can be linked together. Links can be across the project. Links are searchable. You can manage all the different coverage reports, and you can navigate around any level of hierarchy. So these were the basic traceability concepts of Polarion, and now I would like just to show you how this applies to traceability between a model and the system requirements in Polarion, how you can navigate by links from model to requirements and back using Polarion and Simulink interface. So let me go to Polarion. For this presentation, I'm actually using our test drive server. So it's a server that you can access anytime by yourself. I will use my local MatLab installation, and I will show you how these two applications are linked together. We extend the Simulink interface. We set up a connection between a local installation and the MatLab server here in Polarion settings menu. And I can easily, just using the Simulink, just highlight all the elements that have been linked with requirements in Polarion or work items in Polarion in general. You can just go to the Polarion menu and open the linked work items. And this opens the work item in Polarion. So you can see that in this case, I can even have the preview of the model in Polarion. I can just check some mechanical requirements related to the model. And if there is a link from a work item, I can open the model back in MatLab Simulink. So there is a bidirectional linking from a MatLab Simulink to the work items in Polarion. If I need to create a link, it's just very straightforward. I can just select the action link with existing item, and I can search for some particular requirement in Polarion and link it manually, so the link has been established. So this way, I can definitely ensure that all the artifacts are linked in general. And now in the rest of the presentation, we will speak more in details what are the benefits of those links from a model into a work item and vice versa. So rich design specification documents. In the requirements analysis phase, the first step in the verification process, the requirements of the proposed systems are collected by analyzing the needs of the users. This phase is concerned with establishing what the ideal system has to perform. However, it doesn't really determine how the software will be designed or built. Usually the users are interviewed and a document called the user requirements document is generated. We can also, think about the gathering of a general system requirements and transform the needs into verifiable system requirements. This is very important that you can have a Word document, but it's pretty difficult to ensure that the information tracked in a plain Word document is really verifiable easily. And in the end, you would like to have the approved specification document. There is a great feature in Polarion ALM that enables documentation of the system requirements, and we call it a live document, ability to really describe my needs in a document interface, but still ensure that every paragraph is fully traceable. You can import and export the information using Office Round Trip, and you can also reuse and branch the requirements if you have multiple variants of your product. So once the system requirements are gathered, very often it's requested by the regulatory requirements that the system design has to be documented and linked with the system requirements. So you need to ensure the consistency of the requirements, design document, and of course also verification plans. At the end, you need to validate that all the modules and the source code is consistent with the design and the system requirements. So generally, we have already seen the link between the model and the work item in Polarion, but what I would like to show you in the next demo is that you can really create a fully featured design specification document that can be accessed anytime, and you can really measure the traceability between the system and design specification documents, and the design specification documents are being managed using in a Polarion version control repository. We had the integration not only with the Simulink models, but also with the UML models. So if you have a hardware design or electronical design that's designed in MatLab Simulink, and the software designed using the UML solutions like Enterprise Architect, you can still have a design document that includes information from any kind of the modeling solution. And I would also like to speak a bit about the so-called refined mode, how easy it is to actually provide additional requirements to your model elements. So I will go again to Polarion interface. So I open my Chrome web browser. I'll show you the system requirements specification document. It's very simple and easy to use interface. I can just, enter a new requirements just by typing new paragraph. Every single paragraph, more or less, is uniquely identifiable, so it's traceable. And I can also have the design requirement specification documents. The great thing about those design specification documents is that they can contain the model previews, so the images or diagrams being created by the MatLab Simulink are being published into Polarion. So if I need to review the specification, I can just open the electromechanical design specification document. If I need to understand details about any kind of a diagram, I can just click on the link, and the element in a local installation is highlighted, so I can review the model locally if needed. So I have both documents being managed in Polarion, and I can also, of course, open a detailed traceability tree, so I have the full trace from the system requirement to an electromechanical model design in MatLab Simulink. So how can I actually publish my model into Polarion so I can link it and embed in a design specification document? It's really easy with our integration with MatLab Simulink. You can just, again, use the Polarion menu in MatLab Simulink and publish the block or subsystem. It takes a second. And now the work item has been published into Polarion. So we see that a preview has been generated, a unique ID has been generated, and I can now move this work item into any document like electromechanical design specification, for example. If I need to, the linking is bidirectional, and if I modify my document, for example, my model, if you, for example, just update the visual representation, I can at any time refresh the published diagrams. So now if you go back into Polarion and we refresh the screen, we see that the diagram has been updated. So there is a manual procedure needed to publish the updated diagrams into Polarion, but you have the ability to generate a very detailed design specification document. So reading the additional mechanical requirements related to my model is much easier from this interface than from the MatLab Simulink interface. Topic number 3, impact analysis and requirements change propagation. I think in general, the impact analysis is one of the biggest reasons why you should consider using a tool like Polarion to be sure that every single requirement is really traceable, linkable, and potentially linked with a model. There are several features how to help with understanding the impact of a change, with actually ensuring that every single modification is being processed. We have a visual traceability representation. You can browse any level of traces using the live traceability tree component. Everything is versioned, so we also provide a way how to show the difference between two versions of any artifact in a graphical way. And we provide a pretty nice technology called suspected links to ensure that every single modification is really processed correctly. There is nothing left behind. So let's go to Polarion once again, and let's open a traceability view from the system requirements to the design requirements. So in this component, I can really drill down to any level of hierarchy. If the test cases would be linked, I can really see also the related test cases, the work packages that are planned for the implementation to the development team. It's really a way how I can browse not just the two-dimensional traceability, because many of our customers are still asking for the more or less industry standard traceability metrics, but we think that this traceability tree component is much better because it spans over any level of hierarchy. If I select a requirement here in the component, for example, this one, prepared one. So let me just pretend I change a system requirement. So I change here that some value needs to be greater than the 5%. I can save my change in a way that I consider this change as a major. I can also set up Polarion so every single modification is considered as a major change. And in this way, you see that this link has been marked by this icon over here. And this means that all the linked items has been marked as suspected. I can easily also access my personal dashboard page, where I see all the items that have some potential change impact. So if I pretend that I'm a design expert who is responsible for the design of my component, I can have a look on all the design requirements that have been somehow suspected by a change of the system requirements. I can understand that this item has been marked as suspected because of this link. Of course, I can check in the history what has been changed and consider to update my design. So if I go back to my design element, I can open again the system model, process a change if needed in my Simulink model, and once I'm done, I go to Polarion and I mark the change as processed. One way how to check if there are any suspected links is to open your personal dashboard, but also we provide an email notification. So for any change of a system requirements, so the related design requirements or the users responsible for the design requirements might be notified via email, via instant messages, or just they can check manually searching for such an items using a nice graphical representation in our searching components. So in this case, these are all the requirements that require some processing. Review and approval process. First, many of our customers are large organizations with teams spread all over the world. And because Polarion is a web application, you don't need to install any ActiveX components. You don't need to install any Java applets. It's a pure web application. You can just use your web browser to access Polarion from any place over the world. This is essential because very often, the the teams are distributed and the business stakeholders are located on the different places. Sometimes you need a formal and informal reviews. Sometimes the formal approvals for system and design requirements are being requested by the vendor and supplier contracts. And often, the review and approval functionality is also regulated by different standards like CFR 11 Part 21 for electronic signatures. So you really have to prove that the approved specification has been signed electronically by stakeholders. With Polarion, you can collaborate with project content and team members from any browser-enabled device. We also have a mobile clients for iOS devices. You can really use any browser-enabled device. For formal approvals, I would like to show you in a minute so-called Approval Center, how to streamline the formal approvals process. And what's also very important is that we have a dedicated solution or a dedicated product called Polarion Reviewer. And with this product, you can have the full content read access with commenting and approval functionality. And this product costs much less than the fully featured ALM solution. So with Polarion Reviewer, we can really ensure that everybody in the organization can have the access to the shared repository. So anyone in the organization can open and read, comment, and approve the design documents. Developers, they do not need to have the access to the Simulink to review the particular model. So let me open Polarion again, and I would like to show you the Approval Center and the review functionality. I will go back to my project, and I open my electromechanical design specification document. So definitely for the informal review, what is important is that I can just comment the document as you are used to with Microsoft Word. I can actually export the document as a Microsoft Word document. So I can review the design offline and import the comments back into Polarion. The informal review can be done either online with Polarion document interface or offline with Microsoft Word or even Microsoft Excel. I will not show you how to import the changes now because this webinar is mostly about the system design with MatLab Simulink. More important is the formal approval process because this is more unique, even though the World Round Trip is a Polarion unique technology that is not copied by any other ALM vendor. So let me open the approvals panel. And the approvals panel is a central point for our approval process. I can see that some items have been already approved. These are marked by green. And some of them are still waiting for approval. So actually 13 items have been not approved yet. What does it mean that they have been not approved? So let me see, for example, this design requirement. See here that we open the work items panel. We see that this requirement is still in the status draft. If I send it for approval, we see that it's marked as reviewed, and I cannot mark it as approved because the item has been not yet approved by all the stakeholders. So actually the approval process over Polarion requirements and all different kind of work items is managed by the workflow engine, and the workflow engine checks that all the different conditions that you set up for your process definition. In this case, if you open the approvals panel again, you'll see that this item needs to be approved as any other item. I can use this approvals panel easily to mark items as approved, or if something is not clear, for example, this model requires some changes, I can type comments and disapprove the item. If I disapprove an item, of course, the assignee is being notified via email, and they have to modify the linked Simulink model. So you can see that just by publishing the information about the model into Polarion, I can have a better approval process over design decisions being done in a Simulink model. Last but not least, it's model and code change versioning. There is a nice quote from one of the U.S. aerospace customers who are passing the DO-178B audit, and they stated that it was really very simple. They have to prove they were able to easily and quickly show that all the changes to their software were tracked, reviewed, and that our process was followed. the change records were linked to a source code revisions, and we were able to show the changes to a source file matched the design and description of the changes documented in the change records. So actually this is very often a clearly stated regulatory requirement that all the source code changes must be traceable to requirements. And it's not actually only the source code changes, but also, of course, changes of all the design models and tests being managed by MatLab Simulink application. And it's actually a great that if you open the Simulink project interface, a default source control integration is a so-called SVN integration. So you can very easily just publish your project to a built-in Subversion repository. So Polarion has its own Subversion repository for source code management, and you can share the full Simulink project into a Polarion repository. So if I go and if I browse all the files, for example, also the source code generated by MatLab, I perform a change. Let's modify the comment only. I see all the files that have been modified. I can also modify the model and save it. So I see, that currently some header file and the system design file has been modified, and I can commit my changes into Polarion repository. If I go back to Polarion, I can ensure that every single modification I have to perform, so all the change records are documented in Polarion as a tasks, as a work packages, as a change requests. I simply copy a reference to my task, and I fill in, I describe my change. Now the model, including the source files, are being committed into Polarion Subversion repository. If I actually open a tree component, I can see that the changes are linked with my work items, with my task. I see that 2 files have been modified, and I can even check what has been modified in the source file. So there is a full traceability, not just between the model elements and requirements, but actually every single modification of a MatLab files or Simulink models can be easily linked with Polarion work items that are managing the change requests or the business requests, business cases, use cases. Store the model and MATLAB files in a built-in Subversion repository, or actually you can use your own Subversion or Git repository, because Polarion can also can be linked with external Subversion repositories. Of course, it's not only this integration doesn't work just for MATLAB. If you are using any IDE for software development, you can link the changes in the same way. That's more or less everything that I wanted to demonstrate to you. If you are interested in the actual connector, you can just go to this URL, polarion.com/connector/Simulink, and now I will open the panel to possibly answer your questions. What version of Polarion and MATLAB is supported by the connector? For MATLAB, you need the version 2013, and that's actually the same for Polarion. What MathWorks toolboxes do we need? It's an important question. You need to have the MATLAB Simulink verification and validation toolbox, because this is the standard representation of the linking from a model to work items. Actually, that's maybe important to show. If you can actually see all the links here in the Polarion menu, but we also integrate with a standard requirements traceability views in MATLAB Simulink, so you can open the links also directly from this place. Can I do a diff of models in a similar manner as diff of source files? This is a bit tricky. Of course, the problem is that so far we don't have the visual diff for a model online in a web browser. But if you use the version control management system in a MatLab, you can provide the diffs. But we are heavily considering building the visual diff representation also for Simulink models, so you can easily review the changes, at least side by side with highlighted, modified elements. Do you need the report generator toolbox for generating the Simulink screenshots? It's a difficult question. I don't know. So if you can please send us the email, we will definitely clarify it in an email, and we will update the description of the system requirements on our website to clearly state if the report generator toolbox is required. From my personal understanding, just the Simulink verification and validation toolbox is needed. Then there is a question about pricing. That was probably not mentioned by me yet. Extension itself is provided for free on our website. So if you go to extensions.polarion.com, you can download the Polarion connector for free from our website. And the only requirements are Polarion 2013, MatLab 2013, and the Simulink validation and verification toolbox. You have to install it in your local MatLab application, and you don't need to install anything on Polarion server. The connector works just by the regular access to Polarion web services, so you don't need to install anything on Polarion server. It's probably all for today. Once again, please feel free to contact me anytime via email if you have any questions related to the connector itself. Also, we provide the integration with other external solutions, with UML solutions like Enterprise Architect, with bug trackers like Jira, with testing solutions like HP Quality Center. I was speaking a lot about requirements today, but please also check our solution for quality assurance, because you can also ensure and link all the test cases, all the testing procedures with design requirements, with design elements in a Simulink model, and not link just requirements, but also the test cases. Thanks again. The session was recorded. The session will be available on our website in next days. Thank you for your time.